Well, let me pull the mic over here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to JJ's PC Builds. It's JJ once again. Well, I'm going to let everybody jump in and, get themselves settled in real quick before we get it started. So make sure you all, get your popcorn or your snack and get your soda ready. Because we got a little bit of NVIDIA news to talk about. I think y'all need to know this, and it's really important that you do know this. So, if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. And if you subscribe, it'd help out build the channel, get us to 1,000 subscribers. And if you like the videos, make sure you watch the videos from beginning to end. Would help out the channel as well. We're trying to strive to 4,000 watch hours. So if you watch one video, not just one video, and you watch it over and over, if you watch all the videos, then that helps us get to the mark of 4,000 hours. But if this is your first time here again, make sure you subscribe. We're going to get started shortly. I'm going to go ahead and put this on standby and see how many people come in. We're going to be starting in about approximately at about maybe 1:25 Pacific Standard Time. So get yourself settled in, and we got a lot to talk about right here on JJ's PC Builds. Alrighty, now we just jump back in. Hopefully we got a few people in here just saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds. I know I did a little bit of an opening there, but I figure I'd give you all enough time to get your soda, your popcorn, and everything ready, because we're going to try to get to business and rock and rolling, and try to get things going today. Let's see. Let's see if we can pull up some information. Okay, there we go. Now that everything's just catching up, let's go ahead and flip the screen a little bit and get y'all to the action screen. Okay, up here, this is the thing. They get the rumors going around, like tech power up and stuff like that. Looks like they got some rumors going on that they got a leaker going on. They saying by April the 13th, that's going to be having the new RTX 4070 come out. It comes with the 12 gigabyte of GDDR6X, 192-bit interface, 504.2 gigabytes of bandwidth, and the upcoming card, the AD104 GPU, the 250-A1 variant. The number of cores that they said is going to be coming with that is 5,888. Some believe that the TDP would probably be to about 200 watts. Now, here's the thing. They are saying the price of it, and there's leaks and rumors about it, that the price is going to be around maybe $700. I mean, well, around $749. But, with the AIB partners, also too, with the AIB partners, I'm going to get back to the other screen. Oh, I should have fixed that. Oh, my goodness. They said, okay, listen, with the AIB partners, what they said was this, that NVIDIA said that if AIB partners want to sell the cards, they can't sell it over a certain percentage. So that means when they go to sell the cards, they can't sell it over 10% of the value over MSRP. So in between 5, 10, 15%. So basically, when it comes down to it, if NVIDIA puts out the card at $749, the most that the AIB partners can put it out for is less than $800. Okay, but there's a little. The reason why is because the 4070 Ti is only $899. Okay, they want a little bit of a price cushion in between the two. So if they put the 4070 non-Ti out, 9 out of 10 chances what's gonna happen is that it's gonna wind up close to the same MSRP. A little, if it's done wrong, it can wind up at around the same MSRP, but you're losing 2,000 cores, but everything else pretty much is quite the bit of the same. Okay, it doesn't make sense to me why they would take and make a low budget card, and this is running these cards into the category of low budget. Okay, this is not a high budget card. This I consider a low budget card. I mean, if we go and we look at let's see. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to take y'all along with me. Alrighty. Let's see. Do I got that? Yeah, there we go. I'm going to take y'all along with me. Let's see. The RTX 4070 specs. Okay, so we'll go on Tech Power Up and we'll look at the specs. Okay, it's the AD104, 5,888 cores, 184 on the TMUs and 64 on the ROPs, 12 gigabyte on the memory, GDR6X, 192-bit. Okay, now looking on the chart where the 4070 Ti is, right here. If you can see, they got the 4070 Ti at about 38% higher than the 4070. Okay, they're saying that. Okay, but looking at the 4070, it's almost close to equal with the 6800 XT, which the 6800 XT is no slouch. Okay, just to let you know that. Excuse me. So, we look at the RX 6800 XT. Right. Okay, now the thing is this. This is the 6800 XT. It's got the Navi 21. It's got 4,608 cores, 288 TMUs, 128 ROPs, which that's really good. But the memory on that is 16 gigabytes. 16 gigabytes of GDR6. It's 256-bit bus. Okay, now I can see where the 4070 would lie on this, where, you know, I can see where the 4070 would keep up with this, but what we're looking for is price. Okay, now they're trying to measure that to that, and to look at it, just to tell you, it's at $649. Okay, and this is the 6800 XT, and the 6800 XT is at $649. Now, if the 4070 non-TI is at $749, guess what? It looks like AMD's got a better deal with the 6800 XT. Just because it doesn't have that right amount of cores, it's only like maybe less than 1,000 cores difference between the two. And, you know, as far as gameplay, 6800 XT is no slouch. Okay, that kind of makes me think about it. You know, that's no slouch. So, you know, looking at that and looking at what it's keeping up with, the 3080, you know, I don't know. But for, you know, to charge $749 for the 4070 non-TI, I just think is a ridiculous price. You know, I mean, what, the clock's base clock is 1920. Okay, now if we go over to the 6800 XT and look at the base clock, you know, I mean, there's not much of a difference. I mean, the game clock's 2015, boost clock's 2250. So, looking over here, boost clock's 2475. Memory clock's 1313. Look at the memory clock, 1313. Now, look at the memory clock for the 6800, 2000. So, they're trading blows with each other. But this card is $100 cheaper. This card is $100 cheaper than the 4070 they're going to be pushing out next month on the 13th. Okay, they're not saying too much about it right now. Okay, they're not saying too much about it right now, but I can tell you from what I'm feeling right now that price to performance, I don't think it's there. Especially with them going to be coming out for the 6000 series FSR 3 for the 6000 series. Now, I don't know if you all have checked that out yet, but they do got FSR 3 that's going to be coming up, and it's going to be taking care of all the little ins and outs and everything else. So it looks like, it might be keeping up there with the DLSS 3. But that depends on if you want to use it. DLSS 3 is like frame generation, and the FSR 3 is like resolution generation. So one does one and one does the other. It depends on, if you're using rasterization, you're not using let's see. If you're using just basic rasterization, then the way you want to go is AMD. But if you're using, depends on what kind of cores you want and stuff like that. If you're using, this is DirectX 12, plus 2. So, they got 46 RT cores with, they got 184 tensor cores with this new one. But I cannot see, and I hate to say this, I cannot see paying 700. I can't see paying $800 for this. Okay, knowing the Ti is going to be $849. Okay, there's only going to be between, maybe, I'd say, in an overall average, there's only going to be like $100 difference. Okay, now if there's only $100 difference between the two, what are you going to do? You going to go for the 4070, or are you going to go for the 4070 Ti? I'm sure in hell you're going to go for the 4070 Ti if they're going to be $100 difference in between the two. I'd say $100 or less, I would go to the next big thing. If that's what you want to get, I would go to the next big thing. But if you're looking for, something that's lightweight, then you might want to go to an older card that costs you less, and you go from there. So, but I'm just spilling the beans on this, and just to let y'all know what's going on and what's been happening for the last week or so, or last couple days. But from what I'm seeing right now is, with the way GPUs are working, the newer models are basically the newer models they're bringing out are basically gonna be non-affordable. Only affordable to certain people that can afford them, but the people that can't afford them, they're going to be stuck with the lower cost cards. So, but if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for a new one or whatever, if it's going to be $100 difference between the 4070 and the 4070 Ti, go with the 4070 Ti. I'm just going to put it to bed right there. I think that the RTX 4070 is going to be dead on arrival. Seriously, I think it's going to be dead on arrival. People are not going to spend $100 less to get the next big thing in graphics cards. I'm sorry, they're not. They're not going to spend that kind of money. So, if it's the matter of you wanting to get the next big thing, save up your money and just get the 4090. You know, just save up your money, get the 4090, let it last you 3 or 4 or 5 years, and boom. Then go to the next biggest thing. Save up your money, go to the next biggest thing. You know, to be honest with you, the way prices are going right now, motherboards, you know, some motherboards you can get about around $150 for the new generation motherboards, but most of them you're going to see around $200. You know, and you know what? Let's go ahead and just take a ponder at that real quick, and let's go to Amazon. Because I know this is where mostly a lot of people go, is to Amazon. So that's the reason why I use Amazon as a baseline. So let's see. B650 motherboard AM5. Okay. See, now the thing is this. Motherboards, I mean, this one's got a 14 power stage. I mean, it's got 5.0 M.2 support, which I'm still waiting to see. I might be wrong on this. They might have it out now. I heard something about it that is floating around that they got a 5.0 M.2 coming out at anytime soon. So just to let you know, that's going to be coming out as well. As far as motherboard prices, it looks like the new AM5 series and the 718 series, you know, the B650 motherboards, cheapest I'm seeing is about $200. I mean, that's about the cheapest that I'm seeing right now, you know, but it's being tested. That they say the gigabyte motherboards, what was it, let's see if we can find it here. Depends on if Gigabyte likes to pop up. We'll find it. But look at this, the 670E Extreme. Well, if you got the E on it, why would it be, you say extreme? It doesn't make sense. But anyway, $1,000. $1,000. I mean, look at this. Almost $1,230 for the 7950. $1,200. And that's not where it started in the beginning in price. Oh my God. And you know, these companies are just outrageously stupid. And you know what? I'm going to call them out on Front Street. I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm going to call them out on Front Street. And this is absolutely stupid prices. These prices are astronomically stupid. Okay? And they're a big business, and they should know better than to be placing these stupid prices at this high of caliber. The only boards that you really seen that were this high in price was the godlike motherboards. Okay? Godlike motherboards. These are not godlike motherboards. These are far from it. These are like low profile motherboards. 16 plus 2 stage. Look at this. $693. $694. This one right here, 18 plus 2 power stage. It looks like it's got the work for $484. Oh my God. They got the 12700K 5 gigahertz unlocked. LGA 600 right here. It's DDR4 series, $549. Look at this, the 5950X DDR4 series, $739, $740. Is this nuts? I mean, are they stupidly nuts? Look at this, $1,259, $1,260. Tell me if you're in your right mind are going to spend $1,260 for two pieces, the motherboard and the processor. Where's the RAM? They ain't throwing the RAM in there for that price? Really? Are you seriously getting... That's just seriously stupid. I mean, I'd rather stick with DDR4 and get a better deal than this. I'm sorry, y'all. This is the way I feel, right? DDR5 is not kicking in my eardrum just yet. It is not kicking in my eardrum because I feel that, consumers have paid, over the years, have paid enough into these big companies to where these big companies can do some kind of incentive or kickback, to the ones that want to buy the motherboards and want to buy the processors, want to buy everything. Okay, now, I just can't see paying this kind of price. I mean, even the consumer, the lowest guy on the pole, not going to be the one that buys these. These are just too expensive for them. I mean, $139 now for the LGA 1200. This motherboard was $79.99 back about 6 months ago. I mean, come on, really? I mean, I can't see paying this. And I know y'all don't want to pay this, so I wouldn't blame you if you just, you told them, I ain't paying this. I wouldn't blame you one bit for telling them you ain't paying this. It's kind of a pain in the butt. See, B550 139, that might be an okay deal for a motherboard. Because it looks like it's got the heat sinks wrapped around and stuff like that. Looks like it's got some good coverage. 139's not too bad. But 12th gen, 16.1 Dr. Moss, 224, a Z690A. Especially it doesn't have everything. Doesn't have all the features you need for overclocking. I bet you any money. Especially with that kind of price. These $200 motherboards, and they don't tell you this, these $200 motherboards, okay, are not going to have full overclocking. What are they going to have for overclocking? The memory? Whippy-doo. They're making it to where it's almost impossible to overclock your processor, the things on your motherboard, the GPU. What are you paying for? If you can't do something that's enthusiastic, what are you paying for? That's the whole idea. And I'm kind of upset about this, and I hope you all are upset about this too. Because seriously, I'd be coming unglued. I mean, I can't even look at this. I mean, I can't even look at these prices. I can't even look at this. I'd rather go back to where, look at this, $109.99. This is not bad for this motherboard, the B550, okay, PCIe 4.0. I mean, AM4, that means when it says AM4, that is AMD. Now, the other ones where it says LGA 1700, 1600, and so on, in the LGA series, that's Intel. So if you didn't know that, now you do. I mean, $190 for a Strix motherboard, B550 Strix. Now, remember, when they put the F in there, okay, that's basically giving you the finger. Don't get the ones that say the F. I have a bad feeling about the ones that say the F because they're like stripped down. That's what reminds me of the F series. Is it's telling everybody it's stripped down. So it's not a good thing. Let's see. Micro Center's got this one right here for $309. It's a motherboard and processor combo. Probably you'll get lucky and get RAM put into it, maybe. But, probably not. 139 bucks. B550A Pro Series. It might have some overclocking features, just to let you know, but to me, I kind of think it might not have. 169, the Mag B550 Tomahawk, that will have some overclocking stuff in there. The 520 4+3 phase, I would kind of steer you away from that, and I wouldn't recommend that, is because look at the phases. It's 4+3. That's too low, and plus it'll get too hot, and it'll cause you a lot of problems. Let's not roll there. Okay, you want something with at least between 6 and 16 phases. The higher you go in the phases for the VRM, the higher you go in the phases for the VRM, the better you're off. Because if you get a 16+2 phase or an 18+2 phase or greater, then you're getting more robust power draw you can have from your VRM. Your VRM gives you the power to your processor and stuff like that, to some stuff on your motherboard. So without having that strong VRM, you can't run bigger processors and really robust and big M.2 drives and stuff like that. A lot of control about that. So something to think about when you go and you buy a motherboard. Always look at the phase count. This one here. It says direct 6-phase digital PWM with 55 amps of Dr. Moss. Well, I hate to say this. Now, with your processor, if it pulls 240 watts, right? So that means it's going to pull 24 amps. Because divide that by 10. 240 watts divided by 10 is 24. 24 times 10 is 240. So 24 amps to watts, 24 amps to watts is 240 watts. Just to let you know so you know how to grade it. It's 1 amp for every 10 time. It's times 10 for every 1 amp. So if you pull 1 amp, that's 10 watts. You pull 20 amps, that's 20 watts. No, you pull 1 amp, that's 10 watts. You pull 2 amps, that's 20 watts, and so on. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to confuse you all about that. It's just things that I remember when it comes to voltage versus amperage versus, wattage. So I always remember volts to amps to watts. So in order to achieve how many watts you got to divide it by how many. You got to divide your watts by 10 to get your amps. I don't know. Hard to explain, but you can look it up and they'll tell you. And if I'm wrong, make sure you let me know in the chat, which I've been working on electronics for a long time. Many of years. So hard to explain, but it is there. Now they got the MSI, the Gaming Gen 3, motherboard here for $106. Let's see. Let me take a look at that for $106. What is 119 Gen 3? Let's see more. 4400 megahertz on the memory. The overclock memory, you can clock it up to 4400. Bingo, right there. So you can get the 5600X. Even you probably can, for $20 more, you can get the 5700G. If you want to go that route, because that's 8 cores, 16 threads, you can get the 5700G, the B550, and just add 20 onto the price, so it'd be like $332.85. Okay, so $332. You get an MSI B550 motherboard, the Gaming Gen 3, and the 5700G, Ryzen 7 5700G, and the RAM is the Corsair LPX 16 gigabytes, that's not a bad price. You add 52 more dollars to it, and you get a 1 terabyte hard drive, an M.2 drive. You plug into there, you plug Windows in there, you put it into a case with some fans, boom, you're off to the races. Right there. And if you're wondering why I said the 5700G, the Ryzen 7 5700G, is because if you want to save money and you don't want, if you're just going to do it for light gaming, or you're going to do it for, business work, or you're going to do it for a little content creating, that's perfect. You don't need, and later on down the road, if you want to get a graphics card that's reasonable in price, you can do it and add it to the system, and it'll work just as good. Okay, people are getting the mistake. Oh, we got to have more L3 cache. Oh, we got to have more L3 cache. More L3, more L3. You know what? I should have been saying that a long time ago. I got the Ryzen 5 5600G. I'm doing live right now on that computer, the Ryzen 5 5600G. That's the processor. And I'm doing it live right here, right now. So, now understand that. With no graphics card. None. No graphics card. So, what am I doing right? At least now I know how to set it up, obviously. So, and it runs just as good for what I need it, and it runs off of my Second Life, and it'll play a little light gaming. It'll run on Steam. I play it on Steam once in a while, because I play the spaceship game Eve. I play that. Plays good, stays at 60 FPS. That's the max limit, so it stays at 60 FPS max limit. So, look, I cannot see spending $800 on just one piece to build a system. I'm sorry. NVIDIA, understand this. I cannot see paying $800 for a graphics card. I cannot see it. When you could buy a whole complete system for a quarter of that and still get just the same or greater without a graphics card. Okay? Now, you have to understand this. Now what they're trying to do, and these graphics card, these companies that make these processors, they're trying to take the integrated graphics out of the processor. The reason why they want to take it out of the processor, because now you're not buying a graphics card, now you're not spending more money. That's the reason why they want to take it out. Now, if they were smart, they would have put these at 32, 36 L3 cache on these processors. These processors, I'm saying. If they would have put 36 gigs of L3 cache, and then, had to where the iGPU gets 16 of it, okay, that would have been a plus, okay, and then, brought up the CUs to about 22 CUs, okay, these processors would be worth over $400. Because that right there would give you almost 2600 megahertz of integrated graphics. Would give you, if they would have upped it even more, the cache, the VRAM that's used for the integrated graphics, which is your your main memory. If they would up that, and since you can put the max, like in this motherboard, I could put 128 gigabytes of RAM. If they would have made the integrated graphics up to 16 gigs, shared with 16 gigs, the max, then guess what? Do you really think I need a graphics card right now? But still, all in all, do you really think I need a graphics card right now? No, I don't. Simple fact. I can share up to 8 gigs of RAM with my integrated graphics, which on a discrete graphics card, it's 8 gigabytes regardless. So the only difference is because I don't have the overclocking feature, which I do in the BIOS. I have the overclocking feature in the BIOS. I can overclock everything that's about the integrated graphics in the BIOS. Said and done. Don't have to worry about it. Just overclock it and be done. So that's less programs I have to deal with when it comes to, I don't have to worry about Mr. Wattman and all that. I don't have to deal with the AMD Adrenalin software for the graphics. Just the drivers only. That's all I'm running is drivers only. Okay, because when you play these games, they only pick out specifics. Understand this. They only pick out specifics that you can overclock on your graphics card. If it's integrated graphics or if it's a discrete graphics card, these games, when you go into the set screen, you can pick your own settings. Then, AMD Adrenalin software is useless. Right then and there, you can't use the software for anything. Because once you use it with the game takes control of 99% of your graphics card if it's integrated graphics, or if it's discrete graphics. It takes right then and there to the game. So what do you really need? Truthfully, what do you really need the software for? It's just like NVIDIA. What do you need the software for? Just need the drivers. I've went back and forth about this with friends of mine for years. And I told them like this. Try the difference between just doing the drivers and playing the games compared to having the software installed and playing the games. And see the difference between the two. Bone stock, no overclocking, just bare bone, drivers only and stock only with the software. See the difference. And 9 out of 10 chances you're going to use just the drivers only, because you're going to see a big hit latency when using using the software for the graphics card, which you don't need anyway, because you can run baseline and it doesn't matter. I mean, I've been running baseline for years, and I haven't had an issue. I don't know if you all had an issue. If you had like if you say, well, I had driver's issues and this and that. Well, I can tell you the first problem you're having driver's issues, number one, you're using that DDU driver removal. Stop using that, because that's a waste of time. Okay? I don't care what any tech says out there. That program strips your driver software, not just out of, for your video card. It strips it out for the whole system. So there's programs and settings that are set in certain places for when you do install the driver software for your AMD and your NVIDIA and your Intel and so on. Okay? There are standby programs that are built into the system when it comes in with Microsoft. There are certain programs that are already built into the system with Microsoft. Those are standard basic programs. You take those out, then you're risking your system for more vulnerabilities. So with that DDU program, strips it completely out. It's just like using a CCleaner and stripping your system out with CCleaner, which is a bad idea, and don't use CCleaner because it will give you a ton of viruses. So my point is this: you start where it actually starts to work, and that's with your driver software. And that goes for your motherboard drivers. Make sure your motherboard drivers are up to date. Make sure your graphics card drivers are up to date. Make sure all your drivers are up to date. Okay? If not, then you will run into problems, and you will slow down and lag and everything else, and you'll say to yourself, oh my god, why am I lagging? Why is my system crashing? This and that. And usually 9 out of 10 chances the reason why people's system crashes is because, guess what? I hate to tell you this, but you don't put in the correct driver software. You put in the wrong driver software and then expect the system to work. There are like millions of people in this world now these days, and understand this, millions of people in the world, that and I had a friend of mine, guess what? Had the same problem. It got corrected just by putting the right driver software in and leaving all that extra program out. Don't need it. I don't need, all that extra programming for, my visuals, like, the lighting software and stuff that I got for, the fans, the fan lights and stuff like that. I control my fan lights. And let's get down to the tax brax of it all. I control my lights with this. See this? This right here allows me to take all that extra mumbo jumbo about extra lighting that you need for your fans and stuff. It's all on a separate switch. If I want to change the lighting on my fans, or change the fan speeds, or fan colors, bright, or make it brighter or dark, or make it auto to where it changes itself and stuff like that, it does it all right here. Right here. It has this remote control that controls all that. Okay, the only things I want running on that motherboard are the fans. Like, one set of fans. Just for the processor heatsink. That's it. I don't want nothing else on there for the motherboard to be drained of juice. I want the motherboard to get 100% of the power from the power supply right to it. Now with the lights for my fans and stuff, that connects directly to the power supply, away from the motherboard. That's a good thing, because when you got it on a separate link, away from the motherboard, you don't need all that IQ lighting, all that, that Aurora lighting and stuff like that. I took all that crap out. Didn't even need it. I only need one program for the fan control. That's on the processor to control the fan on the processor. That's it. Which I do have that. And there's one program that Asus has that uses up barely to nothing at all. So guess what? I use that right there. It lets me change the settings of my processor if I want to change it higher or lower in the megahertz. If I want to change, if I want to make like sudden changes like to my VRM, the power to my VRM, or the power to my processor, or the power to my memory, or change the memory load and stuff like that, I could do everything in that one little program. And then later on, take all that notes that I made, that changes that I made, and make that down into the BIOS. And then boom, I don't use it anymore. It just sits there. Only taking 1 meg of jizz, and that's it. 1 meg of jizz, nothing else. So I run really well like that, and that's how my computer is able to stream live. See, I got a camera hooked up directly to the computer, and I'm doing OBS, and I'm streaming the OBS live right to, YouTube. So it goes from my OBS to YouTube live. So I'm running all that, and I'm not crashing, and I'm not, how can I say it? I'm not stuttering. But anyway, let's get back to the punchline of this all. Just giving you a little insight of what you can do, and what you can create, when it comes to the things you want to do, like let's say the RTX 4070, going back to that again. Let's see, let's get a good one. Right here. Okay. So this is the rumored specs on the 4070. Okay. Now they're estimating, what rumors I've been hearing, and I want y'all to understand this. The rumors that I've been hearing is that they were going to have a 16 gigabyte of VRAM. They were going to have a 12 gigabyte of VRAM, and they were going to have a 10 gigabyte of VRAM for the 4070. That's what I heard on the first round. Okay. Now, the second round, I'm hearing that they're doing the 4070 non-TI. They're doing the 4070 non-TI for $749. And then I'm saying to myself, if they're doing if they're doing the 4070 non-TI for $749, $100 less from the 4070 Ti, there's an issue. There is an issue. And, you know, people are going to, as soon as it comes out, it's going to be dead on arrival. For at least the first 2 weeks. For at least the first 2 weeks. You know, dead on arrival. For the first 2 weeks, at least. No, I don't want to subscribe. Sorry, Tom's Hardware. It's all these little pop-ups that makes your computer slow down. But like they said, the 3070 is at $499. Okay. Now, if they made the 4070 at $499, $499. Well, to be fair, $599. Because it's only like 10% above the between the 3070 and the 4070 non-TIs. 10% difference. Okay. Let's just put that out there. So the way I look at it is this. A graphics card is a graphics card. I know y'all are probably to the point to where you're saying, well, like, I got to spend that kind of money to get a graphics card. I'm best off just running integrated graphics. Which you are. Until these prices come under control. And they get at least a year under these new graphics cards belts. You are going to be paying astronomical price for something that ain't frickin' worth it. That is not worth it. And I repeat this. It is not worth it at this point in time. Okay. You wanted honesty? I'm giving it to you. You want to know the real deal? I'm telling you about it. Are you afraid that it's going to cost you too much? Most certainly you should be. Should you buy it? Hell no, I wouldn't even buy it. So, answer all those questions. Unless NVIDIA or AMD changes my mind on how these products are going to roll out and how they work and how I can bench test them right here, I'm sitting solid. I am sitting solid on this. I am not giving in to being afraid of if they got a GPU for me or not. Hey, RC, good to see you. Good to see you, RC. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I was just getting to the point of, when it comes to a graphics card, RC, I was getting to the point where I was telling everybody, you get to the point of a graphics card. Why are you going to pay all those extra prices when you can't even, fathom some of the games and play some of the games with these newer cards? If you notice, some of the newer games you cannot play with these newer cards. So why are you going to spend $749, $59, $800, $1,000 when you can't play the games with them? That's the whole thing. And that's what shocked me today. I had friends of mine telling me that they went and got, some of the new cards out here. Not the new ones coming up, but some of the new ones that came out. With some of the games they can't play it. And I said, well, why not? And they told me, well, they got everything new. They got AM5 series. They went and got a 7950. They went and got 4090s, and I mean, they're having a hard time playing these new games. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Because the simple fact is this. When it comes to it all, at the end of the day, each one of those are going to be lower in spec, and they're going to charge the same amount of money no matter which way you cut it. It could be cheaper in price, it can be larger in price, but the thing is this: if you buy a 4090, okay, compared to a 4070, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot for getting a 4070. I mean, for even the 4080 of it all, the 4080 I would still consider, compared to the 4070 Ti, to the 4070. And they said there's supposed to be 3 different variants of the 4070 coming out. There's supposed to be the 16 gigabytes of the 4070. There's supposed to be the 12 gigabytes of the 4070. And there's supposed to be the 10 gigabytes of the 4070. Well, just like they said the other day, there was a rumor going out about the 3060 that they were going to put out a 16 gigabytes of VRAM for the 3060. A new variant of processors coming out, or GPUs coming out. So to look at that, and to see that they're saying, well, they're going to throw all these variants out. It's just they're going to throw it across the board. Now, they could either do that, or they can do the other thing, is just throw a 4070 12 gigabyte non-TI out there and hope to hell everybody buys it. But not for $799. Not when it's $100 difference to the TI, which is $899. And you can get it for $849. So if you look at it, there's still $100 difference between the 4070 and the 4070 Ti. I don't see where it's cost effective. I really don't see where it's cost effective at all. I really don't. I think it's more or less like they're trying to rip everybody's pocket off. And I'm sorry, I got nothing against the companies and all, but it's just their practices is just totally non-business practices. I mean, it makes no sense for, using better business practices, but what they're using is the wrong business practice with the wrong kind of wheel. I mean, I don't know if you all thought about that, but they're using the wrong kind of wheel when it comes to business practices. If it was me, and I've worked in business 35 years, but the business practice that they have is not the kind of business practice I would have. First of all, I wouldn't have started at the high cards first, putting out the more expensive cards first. I would start at the lowest. That would have been better business practices. Reason why is this: you start at the lowest, then you get everybody that wants to buy it, and then you go up in scales. Then you go to the next scale. Then you go to the next scale. Okay, until you get to the top scale, and then you go right back down to the bottom scale again for the new generation. Instead of they're going at the top scale, then they're trying to get every dollar they can in the beginning, instead of trying to get every customer they can in the beginning. Try to get your customer base up, and then get them interested in the next big thing, the next big thing, the next big thing. Okay, that's the problem. That's the problem with NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel. The reason why they're losing money is because they're not encouraging anybody to go up to the next big thing. I don't know if y'all saw that, but, you know, for from what I'm seeing, is they're not taking anybody to the next big level. Okay, they're not encouraging me to go to the next big level. They're not encouraging the customers that, down here at the bottom. They're not encouraging them to go to the next big level. That's the problem. I yet to see any one of these business in the past 15 years take it up to the next big level, to take everybody to that big business practice. Okay, I don't see them doing that. I really don't. Yeah, I agree with that. But also too, well, you have to understand there's you got your many different kinds of crowds, okay? RC, understand this. You get your different kind of crowds. You get your crowds that work for, work hard and everything else just to get, let me finish that. Just to get to that big high cart. But the problem is this, that if you want to bring everybody along with you for the enjoyment and the ride, and show them the best thing about the business, is you start at the bottom and you work your way up to the top. Now, if they were smart, then they would have took and made a business line at the bottom and started working their way up. And that you do this in many businesses, to where you start at the bottom. When you put out product, you give them the best product at the bottom and work your way up to the next big thing, next big thing, next big thing. That gets everybody excited for that next big thing. But it seems that AMD, Nvidia, and Intel, they don't do that. They try to get you so excited. Oh my God, I got the best thing in the world. And they try to show you the top. They try to show you the top, the best of the top. But I hate to tell you this, in the next year, guess what? Your card has now gone to the bottom. The 4090 has now gone to the bottom, right? Instead of doing it the other way around, to where that you got your bottom cards and then you work your way up to the top card. Okay? And then you go back down to the bottom card. Guess what? Your top card is still performing well for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. And guess what? And then the next big thing comes out. Well, yeah, but look at it in another fashion. Okay? Now, for the simple thing is this. Some people got great paying jobs. Some people got crappy jobs. Okay, the ones that, are working the lower paying jobs, the ones that don't pay as well, like the ones that are paying like minimum wage or greater. There are some people, not just kids, adults too, that go through the jobs that just pay base level pay. And they won't let you accelerate forward until you start pushing on them. Okay, now there's a lot of people out there that had to do that for years. Okay, to where they get stuck into the one job and then it's like repetitive. There's no bonuses, there's no nada, no pay raises, no bonuses. It's just they get stuck into that loop for so many years, but their only freedom is playing on a computer. And they want to get the best they can get, but they only can afford like $200. Okay, because they're making ends meet with bills and everything else. See, that's the whole idea. Now, it's not just kids, it's adults too. Now, I've went and talked to a lot of people about this, and they told me the same thing. They told me that, it's not so much It's not so much of wanting the card, it's so much being able to afford the card. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I agree with that. Oh, I definitely agree with that. 100%. You know, but the thing is this. My kids are done and grown, okay? I'm going to tell you like this. My kids are done and grown. So, I'm more or less like on his own dad right now, you know what I mean? So, the thing is this. This is my finale that I'm making. So basically, I'm kind of put myself in the spot of the kind of person that is like, you know, right here, boom. The one that is right on the bottom line that only can afford so much. Okay, I don't want to say that I got thousands of dollars in this and that, which I don't. Okay, me building up this channel, I'm starting off at the bottom just like the next man that starts off at the bottom and works his way up. So, just like the consumer, now I'll give you about maybe 72% of the consumers. Okay, the ones that do buy graphics cards, but the ones that are buying the lower end graphics cards because they're only going to buy what they can afford. I know there's some people that can afford better or worse or whatever, you know, but I'm going at the bottom, like the bottom fishes, and working my way up. Showing the guy that's down at the bottom, there are better ways to get better, you know, there are ways to get better for less price. Okay. Do you think I got a graphics card? No. Do I got a graphics card in my PC? No. The reason why I don't have one in my PC is because I feel that these companies are ripping off everybody for peanuts, and they're only giving you 50% of what the product actually does. They're not giving you the 100%. That's the whole thing. That's the bottom line. They're not giving you the 100% of what the product does. They're only giving you half of it. And everybody doesn't see that. They only see that, oh, it's the next big thing. Okay, it can be the next big thing, but I'm going to tell you like this. It's the next big thing with only 50% that's working on it. Just like the AMD did with the 7950 X3D. They said, well, let me put more cache on the one CCD so that way you can't use the other CCD. You have to see what it is. You know, they're telling you only can use 8 cores and 16 threads on a 29 or 7950 X3D. They're only telling you can use 8 core and 16 threads that's going to work for a game, but the other CCD is being parked by Microsoft. They didn't tell you that, but you know. Yep, true. The masses are at the bottom, yes. But the masses that are at the bottom, they want to come up to the top. Okay, just so you understand where I'm coming with all this about, is the masses do want to come up to the top. They want to have better. Okay, they want to have better for less price. I don't blame them because everybody works hard for their money. They should be able to get what they pay for. Okay, but everybody's missing the boat on some of the products that they put out there. They're only giving you half of what it does. And I'll tell you, AMD and Intel are the two of the main peeps that only give you 50% of what you pay for. And they've been doing that for years. I mean, years. They've been doing this since the 80s. Okay, they've been doing this crap since the 80s. And I know that for a fact. I've been working on computers since the 80s. So, you know. They did okay, but they kind of screwed up a little bit. All right, understand this. The X3D. See, you get it. See the X version. The X version. Okay. What happened is that some of the games on the 29 or 7950 X version play higher than the 7950 X3D on some of the games. The 5800 X3D plays better than some of the games than the 7950 X3D. Okay, all games are not based the same. So no matter what processor you buy, it's all going to be a different thing. It doesn't matter which game you play. It's the way the game manufacturers make the game. In order for it to work with the better processor or worse processor or whatever. It's how the game manufacturers make this. It has nothing to do with the processor. I always thought it had something to do with the processor. It does when you're doing creator work. It does in that aspect. It does rely on the cores and all that. Yes. But when it comes to games, they can turn on and turn off the cores. And they can let you just play with one core. You could be playing a whole game with just one core, 2 threads. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, somebody done quoted that to me. They already had this happen, so I want to find out more about that. I'll let you know about that. How they did that in the game and shut off all the cores but 1 and 2 threads. I want to know what they did to do that. Truthfully. So, but just I'm not here to cry about what AMD and AMD, Intel, or Nvidia has been doing. I'm just letting everybody know what's going to be coming up, which I think the Nvidia and the 4070 non-TI is not going to be what everybody thinks it's going to be. That's the whole idea. Yeah, that's true. It does make some okay, it does make some smoothing. But you do remember on most games that the processor is only running between 13 and 15%. Most of your gameplay is being played by your graphics card. 100% of the utilization is done by your graphics card. And, your processor is just a flow through with the graphics card. So basically, it turns on and off things here and there. But your graphics card is basically the main one that channels. You're basically channeling from your graphics card to your processor through your RAM and out. So, it's basically doing like a little bypass. But that's on online gaming. Now, if it's games that are built to be stored on your hard drive, like your M.2 drive and such, that's a different story. So it starts using more processor power when you have to utilize the game that's on the M.2 drive compared to the game that's online that's being utilized on another computer system. So there's a little bit of a difference there. So your FPS could not, and I'm going to explain why you don't base your FPS on online games compared to games that are installed onto your system. Now, the games that are installed to your system will give you more of a true FPS than the games that are online. Now, you're only utilizing, when you're running online, you're only utilizing 40% of your PC, because the game creators, the ones that own their little machines over there, their servers, the servers are doing most of the work on the online gaming, so that's where you're getting the FPS from. It's what they call fake FPS. So when you're playing on Steam, you're not really getting the full 100 FPS. You're only getting a portion of it because their servers are getting like 3/4 of the portion, and you're only getting 1/4 of the portion. So their servers are getting more than your computer's getting, because it's got to switch back and forth. So you have to understand, you get what you call true FPS and you get what you call fake FPS. And that's the reason why NVIDIA came up with the DLSS 3, was because it was frame regeneration, AI frame regeneration. Because what's lost going online in between back and forth from the servers to your computer, there's somewhat of a little bit of a loss. It's kind of a latency problem. So they figure they throw in DLSS 3 to make up for the little bit of that latency problem that, everybody says, well, it's kind of not working that way. Oh, yes, it is. And that's exactly is how it's working, is because you're making up for some of the latency going from their server to your computer back and forth. Not a lot of people understand that. When you utilize your computer to another computer, okay, you're still stuck in one orientation with 1/4 of the FPS, and you're saying, oh, my computer's not doing all the FPS. Well, yeah, your computer's not doing all the FPS. Is because their server is doing 3/4 of your FPS compared to you doing 100% of your FPS. It's the exchange of latency between your computer and their server. So that's where you're losing FPS. It's not your graphics card, neither. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, it's the graphics card, it's the graphics card. No, it's not the graphics card. Okay? If you can run a program on your computer showing you your true FPS, my computer will show me the true FPS of what I do. I can get the true FPS off of my computer with a program, other than getting it online, because it only shows something different online. When you're trying to grab out here, you're trying to grab out here and out everywhere, okay? You're trying to grab out everywhere. The FPS from a server here, server here, server here, server here, and pull it into your PC, guess what? You're losing FPS. And that's the whole idea with the frame regeneration, is supposed to make up for that FPS loss by putting fake frames in the middle of the FPS frames. So, okay. Well, see, that's the difference. Well, Sim is different, okay? The thing is, I run Second Life. That's off of a Sim program. But you know what? Usually most of your Sim programs, some of them will run DirectX, and some of them will run a different kind of way of doing DirectX, and it's called OpenGL. Okay? You can get if all graphics card runs OpenGLs. Every graphics card made in the world, they all run OpenGL. OpenGL is 4.5 or 4.6. It's all at one. It's one ball of wax. It has nothing to do with direct. If you got OpenGL and you're using OpenGL, has nothing to do with DirectX. That's two different animals. Okay. Now, when I run OpenGL for Second Life, which is, online sim, mine's an online sim. So when I run that, it runs differently than DirectX. DirectX runs totally different, because basically OpenGL is like straight through. It's just direct through. It's just connect direct from point A to point B, direct straight through. No, there's nothing connected. It's a passive. Okay. When it's passive, it basically gives you your... I noticed the thing with FPS on when I go on to Second Life, when I use MSI Afterburner to test and see what the FPS is, and compared to what I see on Second Life, there's a 10 FPS difference between the two. 10 FPS difference between the two. Okay, what's on my computer and what's on Second Life. Second Life runs me at 270, 289 FPS, 289 FPS. Okay, now, what I see on my computer with MSI Afterburner, it shows me 249, 259, and so on. It always shows me a 10 FPS difference between the server that's on Second Life compared to... And that's open sim. Okay. Compared to my computer. I see what's going on their server, and I see what's going on my computer. So you measure the two and see what you got. You measure from their server to your computer. I got a 10 FPS way in between the two. So having that 10 FPS difference, when you start going up in FPS, it starts getting, the spectrum seems to be getting wider and wider and wider. So basically, the higher you go up in FPS, the spectrum gets wider and wider and wider. They go up higher and you go down lower. So you lose FPS. That's what they call fake FPS. Okay, it's basically you're not getting the direct FPS off of another server. Now, if it's off of your computer and you use your computer itself as a server, then that's a different story. Then that's what you would call true FPS, because basically your computer is a server. But if you connect it through a router, you're still going to have latency of 10 to 15% latency going from one computer to the next. The closer you get, the less the latency, because the shorter the wire. Shorter the wire, the less latency you have. Longer the wire, the more latency you have. So, but, with it in the case, okay, I'm just using this as an example. Okay, when you're on Steam, okay, now their server runs differently than your computer. Okay, their server has a higher efficiency rate. Basically, their server has a lot more RAM, a lot more processor speed, a lot more processor power. Unless you got a computer that matches their server, that's the only way you can get what they call -1 or 0 latency. Okay? Even though that you're running through a wire, it could be, and hope it's lightning speed, because if you don't have lightning speed, internet, then you're looking at 10%, the latency I have right now, and I have almost close to one gigabyte of speed. I have a 217 legacy speed. 217. Okay. That right there will take that right down to like 180, 190 on the download. It's not worth it, because it's not as smooth. But if you want more FPS, you have to have the complete program onto your computer. Yes, it is. I mean, if you want to have less latency, then you're best off to have the program on your computer of what they got to match. So when you go to connect to their computer, there's less latency there's less sharing in between the computer. You got packets that you have to share and everything else. The more packets you have to share, that's basically more latency you have between their server and your computer, the less FPS you're going to have, because there's going to be more FPS on their side than your side because of the latency, because of the packet sharing. Okay? Now they could have a Linux computer compared to you having a Microsoft computer. So that's going to create more latency because you have two different operating systems. I mean, there's many variables to this. But for anyone to tell me that, you only get a certain FPS on, let's say you got the 6800 XT, right? Let's say you're getting, let's say that you tested it on your computer with the programs on your system, and you're getting like 700 FPS. But you go to play the games, you're only getting like 148, 200 FPS. Well, that's because of the speed of the internet and the latency. So basically, more of the FPS is on their side, which is fake FPS, compared to on your side, which is the real FPS. What you see as the real FPS compared to their side. It's what they call fake FPS. Okay? So there's a latency when you're going between, your wires. Okay? You're going from... You got to remember how many computers you have to go through to get to Steam system. Now, from where I'm at, you got to go through maybe 197 computers just to get to activate on Steam system. Okay, that's the thing. You got to go through that many computers just to get to Steam system. Okay. Now, is that crazy or what? You got to look at how many connections you have to make to get there. And basically, each connection that you make, you have to make 20 of those connections all at one time in order to get all that coming in. All that signal coming back to you. In order to get it all coming back in, you have to have between 15 and 20 connections going out to their computers to have it all coming back in. For higher speeds. Okay, it's called multi-connections. You got to have several multi connections just to get all that in and, to rock along. So, there's many variables when it comes to, buying for a graphics card and everything else. The thing is this, everybody just thinks it is the graphics card. I'm not blaming just the graphics card. Now, understand that. The whole purpose of this is, it's not just a graphics card. It's not your computer. It's basically what you have to go through to get the signal going from their computer, their server, to your computer. And the latency you have to go through to go from point A to point B. From A to B, B to A, and so on. So that's something you need to think about too. But all in all, when it comes to the end of the day, I'm going to tell you this. The Ryzen 5 5600G on my program, on this system, with, Heaven Tropics, I always run that, will pull, on baseline, will pull between 5 and 700 FPS on baseline. So I know the motherboard is set up correctly. I know everything's set up correctly. Is when I can max it out at baseline level and get that baseline actual. I want to know what it's doing at the rock bottom and what it's doing at the top. Do remember that there are two sides to the field. You want to know what's going on at the bottom. You want to know how it's working at the top. So that way you know from the bottom what the lowest numbers you can go to the top, knowing to the highest numbers you can go to. Okay. So when you're really testing a graphics card and you're really testing your processor, you're really testing your motherboard, do remember, your graphics card flows through your motherboard, which flows in through your processor, which flows in through your RAM. And you got to remember the distance going from the GPU processor all through all those components and going all the way around, and going all through the processor, going all through the motherboard, and going through all this and that, going through the RAM, filtered through the RAM, coming back through the processor, going back through the hard drive, going back through the graphics card, going out through the wire, taking part of that, going through the wire, going out to their server, coming all the way back, and then going on the output of your screen is done within milliseconds. So if you got stutters or you got latency going through all that all at one time, doing it in milliseconds, and do remember, within every millisecond, you're going to have a little bit of latency. So it has to go through all that just to process and come out through your screen. So you can see what's going on. So there's a lot of configuration and a lot of know-how when it comes to setting up your motherboard through the BIOS, getting everything that's running as hardware, running securely on your platform with your software in order to have it running just correctly, so there's no crashing and, so you don't have any, stutters or anything like that. It takes time. It takes time if you want it to run so correctly. And understand this, to run so correctly that it gives you that 100% advantage. You see me really crying about the Ryzen 5 5600G? I don't hear too many people talking about it. 2023. That's the thing. I don't hear anybody talking about it 2023. All I hear is, oh, AM5 this, oh, AM5 that. Oh, AM5 my ass. Okay, there it is. That's going to take a little bit of seasoning before it becomes legit. Okay? It's going through everybody has to understand, you are a tester. When it comes to when you buy their product, you are now testing their product. So when they give you updates, It's because you're testing and you're giving feedback and you're letting them know how the product's running so they know what to do next. You're giving them feedback. You're giving them the the know-how of feedback, so this way they know which way to run with and what to, fix. The bugs and fixes to make it improvements. Just like Microsoft does the same thing. Microsoft spies on your computer without you knowing it, so that way they can see what you're using and not using, what's beneficial to you or not, and then they take the millions that are in this big bubble and put it all together and find the best 10 things that's working the best for everybody, and then boom, they come up with a new idea. They come up with a new idea. I mean, how hard is that? They spy on your computer, they watch what you do, and they turn around and then boom, come up with a new idea. So, it is what it is. Anyway, I'm not gonna, I know I shot my chops for getting close to almost 2 hours, but, the point is this. The whole point of the video, my conclusion of the 4070 TI is that I don't think it's going to be that beneficial to you, but for a consumer that doesn't know too much about how graphics cards work and everything else, you're better off. Save your money, buy the biggest, best thing that's on the market, like the 4090, the RTX 4090. Even though that I know it's between $1,600 and $2,000. You can buy that, or you can take and buy something that's within a price range of $700, $800, and the next best thing. And buy something that only has 5,000 cores. Something to think about. Or you can take and get yourself a 6800 XT for a couple $100 less. Okay? And that has 4,800 cores. This has got 5,800 cores. That's got 4,800 cores. Okay? Pick your poison. Or you can spend money and get a 3060. A 3060 Ti or a 3060 12 gigabyte. I mean, graphics card. If you're using it for basic crap and you're not really using it much for gaming, graphics card is a graphics card. I mean, if you can get a 3070 or 3070 Ti for a better deal, there you go. A graphics card is a graphics card. Whatever brings it to your screen is a graphics card. All this advancement and all this crap I hear about, what it can do and everything else. You know what? All you're doing is stressing out your GPU and you burn it up. Let it run its course. Let it run its full potential without having extra programs running its full potential, pushing it to the 200% range. I have absolutely, right now, no programs whatsoever pushing my PC to the max. I've taken out, all the lighting programs. I've taken out 99% of the programs that comes with the motherboard. I just don't need it. I run MSI Afterburner. I run one program for ASUS. One program. an Asus motherboard. And it runs great. It's just running in the background, using barely anything up. And everything else, I'm basically using like right now as me recording, the CPU is running at 18 to 20%. Right now, the CPU that I'm using is 18 to 20% recording to y'all. So, and the GPU is only running at 9%. Recording to y'all from my PC to YouTube. And that's what it shows right here on MSI Afterburner. And that's what I see. So it runs me barely anything, so I don't worry about it. But we are down to the end spot of this video. Well, it's not a video, but it's a live video. And I want to thank everybody that did stick around, and I do thank you all for partying with me. And you know, I'm gonna be on here for approximately probably another 13 minutes with y'all, so that way I can see y'all put something in the chat to get your points, your views, or whatever, because I'm gonna be watching for about 13 minutes. So if y'all want to put something in the chat, something you want to talk about, be more than happy and free to talk about it. It's open for you. That's the reason why we do these live Thursdays. So, enlighten me of your all's presence. If y'all want to put something in there and y'all want to say something about, you know, what you feel that should be different, or what Microsoft should do different, or what Intel should do different, make sure you post it right here so that way, you know, everybody can see it. And if you can't post on the video and it says you have to be a member, it's actually for free to be a member. It costs you absolutely nothing to be a member, to be a subscriber. Just subscribe. Costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe. I charge absolutely nothing. And hopefully all my videos, they don't put commercials or anything else in there. Let me know if they ever do, because I really want to know if they're putting commercials in my stuff, since they're not paying me and they shouldn't be putting commercials in my stuff. You know what I'm saying? So if they do, let me know. So, but I just figured I'd let y'all know. It is absolute. I don't charge anybody for, you know, to get up on here when I'm doing live. You know, all you have to do is subscribe. That helps out the channel. You know, it helps us grow. We always trying to work towards getting 1,000 subscribers. And once we reach 1,000 subscribers, you know, it would be great. That way we can work towards 100,000 subscribers, and that way we got a full boat in here every week when we do these things, and maybe we can do Pictionary or something like that. Nah, I'm pulling your leg. Maybe we'll come up with something. You know, in time. Just be patient. It's all good in the hood. So, if, you know, yeah, I'm kind of giving my voice like a 2-minute break. But, you know, like I told y'all, NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel, they all need to shape up their act. Okay? Just like, you know, MSI, Gigabyte, you know, all the rest, Asus, all them, you know, when they're sitting there charging all these prices, it baffles me to see good people paying this high of price for something that, and trust me, if you haven't been watching the RTX 4090, I'm going to give you a hint. Just going to let you know this. The RTX 4090 is not the biggest on the block. They are coming out with the 4090 Ti. So everybody wonders, is the 4090 going to go extinct? Well, the 4090 Ti in rumors right now is supposed to have 16,688 core. I'm like, yeah. Let's see who's going to pay $6,000 for a 16,000 core GPU. Let's see who's going to pay that. You're already paying for the RTX 4090 with 12,000. You're already paying between $1,600 and $2,000. So, something to think about. Just something that comes into your mind. Do you want to pay that kind of price? Or basically you just want to get a whole new PC. You want to get a whole new PC? You can buy one for like $400 or $500. Okay, if you buy it's brand new. You can build it brand new for $400 or $500, but it's on the cheap end. But if you want to do the DDR5, the 600 and above series motherboards and stuff like that, yeah, you're looking at maybe $1,200, $1,300 minimal to start. And hopefully around Christmas time it'll be right down to about $600. But I'm seriously doubting it till next year. Just to let you know, I'm seriously doubting it till next year. So prices might come down a little bit on the older materials, but the newer material, forget it. It's going to stay right at where it's going to be. It might slip down maybe 100 here or 100 there, but it ain't slipping down any more than you think. So just to let you know that. But that's just the way the ball bounces, I think. So, a lot of my friends have been telling me that, maybe the best thing to do is not worry about buying all medium end. I can't say high end because, I could say Threadripper and stuff like that. That's high end, But with the new 7000 series X3D, I think it's already reaching up into Threadripper end, the Threadripper stage. So my thought about that is pretty much getting up to the high end part. So basically they're putting kind of high end into the desktop age. Now if you're looking for a laptop, they got 4090s in laptops, that are cheaper than the 4090. So, but only do half the power of the 4090. See, now you kind of see it now. They're charging you a little bit more for a lot more less. So you're not getting as much as you think that you're getting when you buy things. You're not getting as much as you think. You're only getting 50%. So I think they should cut the price in half. That's just me. I think they should cut the price in half. I don't know if you all think that they should cut the price in half. Let me know and shout it out into the chat if they need to cut the price in half. Just let me know that. I think they do. I really do. I really think they need to cut it in half. I think they would do a lot of better and a lot of good if they just cut it in half. So, but anywho, do expect in April the maybe the 4070 12 gigabyte will be coming out on the 12th or 13th. So do expect it to be coming out then. As far as the 7800, okay, the 7800 X3D, the 7800 X3D is going to be coming out in April. So if you're looking to save your money up for the 7800 X3D, you know, I'm kind of up in the air about the 7800 X3D and the 7950 X3D. Reason is this. Something tells me in my mind that if I get the 7800 X3D, something tells me in my mind that I don't get the extra chiplet because it's not on the board, on the die, but they stack the L3 cache on top, but it's just on one CCD die. Okay. Now, when it comes to the 7950 X3D, they got the one CCD with 8 gigabyte 16 threads. Keep this in mind. And they got the other one, the second CCD with 8 got 8 core 16 thread on one, 8 core 16 thread on the other. But the advantage is you can turn one off in the BIOS and leave the 8 core 16 thread run just as good as the 7800 X3D. But I want you all to hear the but to this. The 7800 X3D is 6 core 12 threads. Okay, 6 core 12 threads is the 7800 X3D. Now, what advantage you have for $100 and some less to get the 7800 X3D compared to getting the 7950 X3D? What advantage do you have? One, you have 8 more core 16 threads on the 7950 X3D. It kind of sunk into my mind right here. Okay, you can turn one off, you can turn one on, you can shorten it or lengthen the cores, and still keep the same amount of L3 cache. And I'm like, huh? Does that make sense? Think about it. 7800 X3D gives you 6 core 12 threads. Only gives you a certain amount of L3 cache. Doesn't give you that much. Gives you some, but not much. But when you go to the 7950 X3D, you turn around, you get 120 some on top of getting 16 cores and 32 threads. But they're having a problem with the 16 core 32 threads. It's best to take not the first CCD, but the second CCD and turn it off in the BIOS and just run 8 core 16 threads with all that L3 cache. Man, would that not fly? Playing certain games that runs multi-core? Yeah. That's something to really think about. So, as far as getting what you want out of the processor, yeah, you'll get about maybe 50% of what the processor puts out. So it still comes back to the same thing. Is it better to get the 7800 X3D, or is it better to get the 7950 X3D? y'all think about it. Y'all let me know what you think on that. So, but it's something to think about. For $700, is the 7950 X3D worth the money? Or is now for $549, is the 7800 X3D worth the money? I mean, that's something to think about, you know. I mean, really, that's really something to think about. So, but anyway, everybody, I want to thank everybody that's, stuck with us for the last couple hours. And we do appreciate y'all being here. And once again, I've had a great time with y'all. I do every week. Have some, always great chats and everything going on here on JJ's PC Builds. But like I said, if you're first time here, make sure you subscribe. If you want to become part of the family, best to subscribe. We're still working towards 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. So, if you don't know what I mean by watch hours, is where you watch each video from beginning to end, and you watch them all, because that adds towards the time onto the videos. So, and if you enjoy the videos, make sure you tell your friends. Make sure you get them involved, tell them to join in, have some fun and everything else. But, y'all, till the next time, and next week, when we're here live again, we will see you on that next one. But we will have videos out all through the week. And also, too, we will have Graphics Card Nightmares coming out next on Saturday. I'm going to take Friday off, so just to let you know. But anyway, y'all have a great evening. We will see you on the next video.